Good Sunday morning. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. My name is Sarita. Yes, oh yes, oh yes. We are doing coffee week. I know I've teased this for a really long time, and I expected to do this in like September or October at the very latest. But here we are in the first week of November doing coffee week for the first time. I burned, I think 9 or 10 different coffee candles. They're the ones that I could, for the most part, get my hands on relatively quickly and easily right now on the market. So to some extent, this is kind of a snapshot of where the coffee candle market is right now, November 2024. Does not mean that there have not been excellent coffee candles prior to this point that are no longer being sold for whatever reasons. And there are probably some coffee candles that are being sold right now that I did not get my hands on and would have liked to. What is missing in this little week is going to be some higher luxury candles. So I know that Diptyque just came out with like a gourmand like cafe collection, I think, maybe 3 or 4 candles. Really only one of them was truly coffee flavored, coffee fragranced. And I kind of wanted to get my hands on that, but if you know Diptyque, you know that you're going to get an 8-ounce 1 wick candle that is going to set you back about $80. And to be honest, I really did think about it. And I read a few reviews that were saying, it wasn't that great of a candle. So I did not do that for you this week. And I apologize if that's a major omission. If you have that Diptyque candle, please tell us about it in the comments for all of us who are too poor to get that candle right now. Definitely not in my tax bracket. There is another candle by DS and Durga, and I have been wanting to try out DS and Durga. It is another one of those luxury candle brands. Usually I'm not terribly tempted by the luxury candle brands, but I don't know, this particular candle company comes up with some really, really unique fragrances that I think kind of smell a little bit, or they sound up my alley. They have their far and away #1 bestseller is a candle called Breakfast in Leipzig. And DS and Durga tends to like to do a candle that inhabits a certain kind of experience. And often that has to do with a certain kind of place. And here with this candle, it's obviously a cafe in Leipzig. They probably have a specific cafe in mind. And I think that it's not only a coffee candle, but it also has gourmandy notes in it. And it has leather, as in like the leather chairs. And it's got like a whole host of different things, but is considered by many luxury brand connoisseurs as one of the finest coffee-ish candles in the luxury market. So I kind of would have liked to have experienced that one too. But to be honest, most of my viewers on this channel, you guys are like me. We basically burn kind of the mainline big candle companies that are not in the luxury price market. So we're talking Homeworks and Bath and Body Works and maybe some Yankee and maybe some Kringle at Goose Creek, etc., etc. In those kinds of price points and availabilities, those are the candles I was looking for. And I was also looking for some straight up coffee candles, like not coffee with cream, not coffee with cinnamon, not coffee and chocolate, not coffee and you name it. I was looking for just the strongest straight up black cup of coffee candles that I could, knowing full well that some of you will want to blend those with other candles. And they do make awesome blending candles, because if you've got a great, fantastic, just straight up black cup of coffee kind of candle, you can mix that with a nice pumpkin spice and it automatically becomes kind of a DIY pumpkin spice latte in your home that might actually smell even better and more powerful and more special than a true pumpkin spice latte candle from whatever company. So keeping that in mind, this is the category that I was going for. There are a few candles in here that kind of wormed their way in that are not straight up black the way I wanted them to be. One specifically is a recent release from Bath and Body Works that came out this summer. And it is kind of a coffee-ish, but you know, it's kind of like coffee-ish the way the Bath and Body Works usually does it, with a great deal of cream and maybe some spice and, you know, song and dance and all kinds of other things. And in the end, you're getting like, you know, a teaspoon of coffee per all the other different things. But since I needed to review it anyway, I went ahead and put it in this collection. And then there were frankly several candles here that I thought were black coffee candles. And then as they burned, they kind of weren't quite as dark or authentic or true or just undistractedly unfocused black coffee experiences as I wanted, and at least one or two that I bought blind, and then when I smelled it, I'm like, yeah, this is not what I thought it was. By the way, I'm actually burning, I'm burning, Freudian slip. I'm recording this ahead on a Saturday, and unfortunately it's in the afternoon, and so the sun is starting to come in, and it's probably gonna make everything super wonky, but we're just gonna go for it. Okay, my friends, so I've got 9 or 10. My hope is to there's 2 candles here, frankly, spoiler alert, that are Bath & Body Works that I'm just going to group together into one video, and that will be for obvious reasons. But otherwise so I guess I have 9 candles here. I have 9 candles because one of the videos will be together, which means that I have 8. So we're starting here on Sunday, and we're going to do Sunday to Sunday a coffee review every single day, a coffee candle review. And then I discovered that I have a few little things that I wouldn't mind doing some videos on that are just coffee related, and I would love to do them during Coffee Week. Obviously, my channel is named Coffee and Candles, and if you're not aware of it and have recently joined my channel, my original vision was to actually review coffee, like true coffee beans, coffee brews, etc. I'm a huge Starbucks fan, huge. I know Starbucks very, very well, and I love coffee. I arguably love coffee even more than I love candles, and you know that I love candles. So that's kind of the vision of this channel, was to be mostly candle videos, but also some coffee reviews. And if you look under my playlist tab, I actually do have a playlist that is coffee reviews, and I don't have that many of them, but there are some there, primarily of Starbucks. So I have not done as many coffee reviews as I've really wanted to, and I hope I can kind of continue to do a few more of those in the future. I do have some non-candle coffee-ish related videos that I'm going to sprinkle here and there. So many of the days this week, you're going to get 2 videos, one which is a coffee candle review and one which is a other kind of coffee related coffee related review. A lot of C's there, a lot of C's. Okay, so here's how this is gonna work. All of the coffee candles are sitting here off to the side, off camera. And I have made, by the way, this used to be a candle. I think it was an Illume candle? Was it an Illume candle? A patty wax candle. It was a patty wax candle. And it was the orange blossom one. It was so pretty. And I said, this is a blown Mexican glass piece here, and you could take the candle out and use it just regular. And honestly, half the time when candle companies are like, oh, you can use this as a old-fashioned tumbler or something like that, like, do we really use them for that? No. But this was actually one little bowl that I did keep, because I'm like, oh, you could put little dips in it and stuff and whatever. Anyway, so I have written down every single candle on this little thing, and this is just going to be the luck of the draw. This is going to be Lady Fortune right here. Because I don't want to present them in any kind of order. Toward the end, I think it should be obvious which ones were the winners and which ones were not. But I really kind of didn't want to affect it by presenting them to you in any kind of given order. So they're all in here. Luck of the draw, we're going to pick one out every single day, and we're going to do a coffee review. And then by the end, and we'll just kind of compare and contrast as we go along and as the candles emerge. Okay, are all the rules in place now? Do you understand how this week is going to go? Welcome to Coffee Week! Yay! Okay, should we go with our very first review? Our very first candle review is this one right here. Dun, 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 dun. Wow. Okay, the very first review is Candleberry Coffee Shop. Actually, Coffee Shop is not the name of it, but it is the name of the collection. So let me find my Candleberry. Here he is. Dun, 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 dun. Here's the very first candle for Coffee Week. It is Candleberry. I have never burned any Candleberry candles ever. And by the way, I have my list of extensive notes here. Look at this. Yes. So forgive me as I consult, because I have sat down and I have done research on all of these, written down all of my burn notes, etc. But I am going to have to consult a little bit because while I kind of remember them, I'm trying to remember like 9 candles at one time, and I want to make sure that I don't make any mistakes. So as you can see, this candle is not really called Coffee Shop. This is because Candleberry has so many different coffee related candles, they actually group them all under this mini collection called Coffee Shop with an E that's like this old-fashioned shoppy coffee shop, you know, in the old-fashioned way. The actual name is right down here below, which is a French roasted coffee. So this is French roasted coffee. I did write down, I encountered this, by the way, in a Hallmark store, if you can believe it, in like West Virginia. I was in a road trip. I was actually in one of those, you know, dying, closed in suburban malls. And I was there for a Bath and Body Works, obviously. And I was kind of eating lunch, passing through, going to my car. And then there was a Hallmark. And out of the corner of my eye, as I was passing by this Hallmark, I saw candles. Yankee candles primarily, but you know how I am, like the radar for the candles. And I walked in, and they not only had a good amount of Yankee candles, but they also had Candleberry, and they also had Swan Creek, actually. So I went through Swan Creek and Candleberry are very like country-ish. Like their aesthetic is very like country candle, and the fragrances that both of these companies gravitate to are like the basic gourmands. I'm neither a country candle kind of girl. Like the country-ish I get is like that classic apothecary design from like Yankee Candle. And it's partly nostalgia because that's what I grew up on. But all things being equal, I'm not a country girl. I don't decorate my house in a country way. It's not my aesthetic. It's not my vibe. Frankly, it's not really my people. And you know I'm not a gourmand fan. So all things being equal, these two companies are probably not gonna be my jam. But I was curious because I've heard a little bit about them. So I went in and smelled a lot of their candles, most of which were gourmand. But of the candles there, the two that I was interested in were like coffee fragrances. And I knew I was gonna do Coffee Week. So I went ahead and picked up 2 coffee candles from both companies that I thought were like the best, strongest black coffee there. So the one for Candleberry that I picked up was this one, French roasted coffee. Candleberry did have a few others on hand, and they have an extensive list of coffee plus kind of candles in this Coffee Shop collection. So just online right now that is available from Candleberry, there is a caramel latte, a sweet maple coffee, a roasted vanilla cappuccino, a cinnamon chai latte, a Mary mocha, I guess for the season, a harvest cafe latte, also for the season, a vanilla cream, and a Cinnaswirl latte. Man, that's hard to say. Cinnaswirl. So this is an extensive little mini sub-collection for Candleberry. And there were a few on hand. Like I want to say that probably the maple coffee one was there, and also one of the vanilla ones. Either the roasted vanilla cappuccino or the vanilla cream one. I smelled all of them though, and this one smelled for sure the best and the most pure to me. So I went ahead and brought this one home. It's French roasted coffee. Unfortunately, they only had it in this large size, which kind of irritated me because there was a smaller size of this vessel available for many of the other formats, but unfortunately not for French roasted coffee. And actually that is the case also on the Candleberry website. This is available in this kind of large tumbler. You can also get it in these little wax melts as well. And then otherwise you either have to spring for what they call a candy jar that is like $90 and it's 3 wicks. And it wasn't particularly transparent about how many ounces were in that. Or you could get this French roasted coffee in a mammoth 4-wick, like crazy container, like a cookie jar or something like that. It was still glass. And it was like $160. So again, I don't know how much wax is in there, but like an enormous amount. The good news is if you really like this fragrance and it's a winner for you, you have some like stronger options, a few more wicks, and yeah, I mean, if you really want to commit to it, it's expensive AF. But if you just want to try it out, unless you want to just try it in the wax melts, you're kind of stuck buying the bigger one. I was at Hallmark. At Hallmark, they were selling it for $25.99, and that's also what they're selling it for on the Candleberry website. The website for Candleberry is a little janky. There are aspects of it that seem very professional, and then there are aspects of it that just seem like really like low budget and kind of buggy. There is information there missing that should be on there. So it's not always transparent like how many ounces you're getting in these particular vessels. I suspect it's like kind of a standard 21 or 22 ounces here. And this is a single wick actually rather than a double wick. If you want a multiple wick for Candleberry, then you do have to spring for those like super large sizes. So there you go. 1 wick. I wrote this down because I was looking in the like about Candleberry section to try to get some just basic information on like what are the wicks that you use, what's the wax formula that you use, etc., you know. One of the questions in the frequently asked questions is, quote, what are your candles made of, question mark, unquote. Here's what they had listed as an answer: a master never reveals their secrets. Cute, but not cute, if you know what I mean. What? But then in the fine print under some of these candles, including this French roasted one, they just kind of said it's a soy blend. It's a soy paraffin blend, basically, which I can believe, but I do think given the way it burned, it has a whole lot of paraffin in it. I do think it also has soy in it, but this, I mean, as you can tell, we got extremely sooty on this. So I assume there's a good amount of paraffin. It didn't get the kind of strength and volume that I really wanted from it. So I also think there's a good deal of soy. But between us, I don't think the paraffin they're using is a good quality paraffin. I just don't think so. To some extent, the benchmark for me is weirdly and ironically at this point, Kringle Candle. Because Kringle had a fantastic paraffin formula, god damn it. And I know I've beat this drum too much. They had a great 100% paraffin formula that, yeah, every now and then would get a little sooty, but frankly did not get very sooty. And it's just a crying shame that they stopped producing that paraffin formula. Not all paraffin formulas are equal, just like all soy formulas are not equal. There are going to be some fluctuations, although there will be some trends. I do not love whatever formula this is. And if this experience here on this candle is indicative of anything, I'm frankly not interested in buying any more candles from Candleberry simply because of the burn quality. One of the cute things about Candleberry, though, is that they do have these kind of cool lids that are either copper or they'll give it to you in gold or black or various different things. It has a gasket on the back and looks really kind of cute. Yeah. So let's talk about the notes here for this candle. It has a blurb here. The blurb says, indulge in the irresistible allure of our freshly brewed French roast coffee fragrance. This candle is bold and rich, crafted to perfection and encapsulating the essence of a steaming cup of coffee, unquote. And this large is a $25.99. It seemed to be fairly well liked. Online, there were a lot of reviewers who really, really liked this candle. And I do think that it smells gorgeous on cold. I really do. It's deep, it's dark, it's roasty. It's rich. And it's really just evocative of true coffee beans. Like it's a true coffee bean roastery kind of smell. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic coffee scent. Spoiler alert, many of these actually do smell similar on cold because I have discovered I like a very specific kind of coffee candle experience. So many of these actually, they burned a little bit differently sometimes than how they smelled, but this is definitely very much in the vein of the coffee candles that I was looking for. Smells gorgeous on cold. This is kind of a weird candle. By the way, I gotta be careful. I'm like not getting soot on me from keep putting my nose in this candle. This is one of those fragrances though. It was one of the few here that when smelled on cold, there is a back note that's almost a little bit perfumey that goes a little bit, at least tonka bean, if not amber. And it's actually really beautiful. And I was kind of hoping that when burned, it would stay that way, you know? It doesn't make it less than a gourmand or less than like a freshly brewed coffee, but it just is some other note that adds a different dimension. And it's gorgeous. Unfortunately, when it was burned, it didn't project or anything. So it was just kind of one of those uncold experiences. All right, so the top notes here are, interestingly, toasted hazelnut. I was looking for a good hazelnut coffee candle too, and I didn't run across one. Mid notes, roasted coffee beans. Base notes, dark chocolate and maple sugar. And frankly, if I had seen any of those on the website, I probably would not have purchased this because I was not looking for that kind of a coffee candle, if you know what I mean. I was looking for a straight up black cup of coffee, and I would have missed it because actually I'm not smelling anything that's overtly hazelnutty in here. And I'm very happy to say that I'm not getting a whole lot of chocolate either. Maybe maple. There is a beautiful, like almost, like I said, almost an amber note, but there's a honeyed aspect to the way that these coffee beans have been roasted. But I wouldn't say, again, that it's like an overt maple note that you would necessarily pick up. If you are, as I am, a little bit of a connoisseur with coffee and coffee beans, like wine, beans will be described in all kind of manner of different ways. This coffee has charcoal overtones, or nutmeg overtones, or chocolatey, or brown sugary, or a molasses, or this smells like it has an herb nuance to it, and really it just smells like or tastes like coffee. It's kind of like wine. They'll do exactly the same thing for wine, but what we're talking about is very nuanced kind of aspects to the coffee beans themselves that really only somebody with an extremely sensitive and sophisticated palate would be able to pick up. But if you taste enough coffee and your palate is that good, you will be able to kind of discern and describe coffee in those kinds of ways. So I really think that at least in this case, all of these different notes of hazelnut, of chocolate, of maple are really kind of in the category of describing the nuances of a coffee bean itself rather than something external that's been added to it. So really this is a straight up kind of dark coffee kind of smell. It's very rich, it's dynamic. Unfortunately, the on-cold experience was so much better than the experience once it was burned. So this candle took an enormous amount of time to pull and to get to a place where it actually started giving off strength and throw. Partly that's because it's a one wick, for sure. But to be honest, it would pull long before I would start smelling it. And by smelling it and length of time, I'm talking 5 or 6 hours. Like I would have to have this candle burning for 5 or 6 hours before I would start smelling it, which for me is kind of a deal breaker right off. And it wasn't like a soy 5 or 6 where you're not concerned about it like sooting or like developing problems because it burns super clean. This was one of those candles that did not burn clean at all. So in the 5 to 6 hours that it took for me to get something, it was just kind of destroying itself. I mean, there would just be soot all over the place. The wick would have just been in the wax for so long. It was started distorting the fragrance. Like it just was not a good burn at all. The strength and throw that I was getting was not great. So in the open concept, I think at the most, I could get it up to a 4 or a 5. In the back bedroom, it ranged. I could get it from about 4 to even up to a 6.5 or a 7. There were a couple times where I could get it up to a 6.5 or a 7 in the more closed back bedroom space. That is after 5 or 6 hours, though, of hard burning and consequences to the glass, to the air quality. I mean, it was not a pleasant burn. It really wasn't. And I think that the fragrance, once it did get up to that place, was just kind of firing at about a half of what I was experiencing on cold. On cold, it's a gorgeous fragrance, but I don't know that that gorgeousness ever really amplified in the same way once burned in the room. And I don't know if a few extra wicks might not help. If you sprang for one of those $90 or $160, you may be able to get, number one, a much better strength throw fragrance payoff in much shorter of a time. I mean, I would hope so for that price and for that size and for those wicks. You might be able to get it to a better place, and with the extra wicks and with the extra volume, might get the fragrance output, the fragrance payoff to be much closer to what it is that you experience on cold. I just couldn't do it with one wick. I couldn't do it in this vessel. I couldn't do it with this wax formula. So there you go. That's Candleberry. It's probably berry. I don't know why I'm saying burry. Candleberry. Candleberry. Why is it called Candleberry? I don't know. It's probably one of those frequently asked questions that they're like, wouldn't you like to know? That would be their answer. Cute but not cute. You know what I mean? What else do I have to say about this candle? Nothing. This candle company is a kind of half mom and pop store. I mean, I think that they say that they were family owned and founded, which makes sense. And they hail from Frankfort, Kentucky. And they're a large-ish mom and pop candle company from what I can tell. I don't know, they're probably about the same as size as like Kringle or something like that. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, that's Candleberry. Given all of the reasons, I don't do the country aesthetic, I don't do all of the gourmands, and I was not happy with the burn quality of this candle. It's probably not a candle company for me, but she exists, as Kent would say. She exists. And I think their best seller is, it's a rum toddy of some kind. They have a rum toddy candle that's like their far and away bestseller. I bet that that's a good candle. It may not be in my wheelhouse, and I doubt that I'm going to try it. But if you're a Candleberry fanatic or you're interested in this company, you're putting together an order, I would 100% stick that rum toddy, whatever it is, into your cart, because I suspect, when you go to a restaurant, you really do want to try them at their best, rather than just the dish that you like the best. Maybe it's not their thing, I don't know how well this particular fragrance does in their collection or how they would stand behind it. So there you go. That's our first candle, French roasted coffee. I do think it was one of the most gorgeous of all of the candles sitting here, one of the most gorgeous on cold, but unfortunately just didn't translate being burned. So there you go. I will link all the information down below. And yeah, if you want to check them out, definitely let me know. If you have checked out, if you've burned this candle before, if you had a different experience, definitely let me know that as well. We are one down, and I will catch you guys tomorrow, but stay tuned. I am going to go ahead and review a second video here that has nothing to do with candles. So just a little bit of a coffee something or other. I'll catch you in that one as well. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you in the next one.